The morning sun had just begun to stretch its golden arms across the quiet streets when Ryan Hale pulled over near the old bus stop at the edge of town. His 10-year-old daughter, Sophie, was humming softly in the back seat, her school bag pressed against her chest, when he noticed something unusual, something that made his heart stop for a moment. There, sitting alone on the cold metal bench, was a girl no older than 17, her frail hands trembling as she tried to move a wheelchair that seemed far too large for her. The world rushed past her, cars, people, noise, but she sat still, as if invisible, her eyes heavy with a kind of pain that words could never describe. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Together, we can remind the world that small acts of love can still change lives. Ryan parked his car on the roadside, a feeling tugging at his chest that he couldn't ignore. He had seen people struggling before. After all, life hadn't been easy for him either since his wife's death 2 years ago. But something about this girl made him pause. Maybe it was the way she held her gaze low, as though she didn't want to exist. Or maybe it was the way her thin sweater clung to her shoulders in the cold morning wind. He approached slowly, careful not to startle her. "Hey," he said softly, "are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl didn't look up immediately. When she did, Ryan was struck by how young she looked, and how lifeless her eyes seemed. "I'm fine," she whispered, though her lips trembled. "I'm just waiting." "For who?" he asked gently. She hesitated before answering, "For the bus. But I don't think it's coming anymore." Her voice cracked on the last word. Ryan glanced at the faded schedule taped to the stop. Half the routes had been cancelled months ago. He noticed then that her legs were wrapped in a worn blanket, and underneath he could see the stiff metal braces that held them straight. It hit him like a punch. She was paralyzed. He crouched to her level, lowering his voice. "What's your name?" "Lena," she said, barely audible. "Do you live around here?" She looked away, blinking hard. "Not anymore." Those 2 words told him everything. She had nowhere to go. For a long moment Ryan stood there, feeling the battle between logic and compassion. He had work in an hour. His daughter was in the car. He didn't even know this girl. But something deep inside, something human, refused to leave her there. "Lena," he said quietly, "come with me." Her eyes widened. "What?" "You don't have to sit here anymore. You can stay at my place until we figure something out. My daughter's with me. You'll be safe." Tears welled in her eyes, her voice trembling. "Why would you do that? You don't even know me." Ryan smiled sadly. "Because someone once helped me when I had nothing. Maybe it's time I do the same." He helped her into the car, lifting her carefully as Sophie moved her backpack aside. "Hi," Sophie said softly, her eyes wide. "Are you okay?" Lena nodded, forcing a faint smile. "Just a little tired." As Ryan drove, the silence in the car was heavy. The hum of the engine and the faint sound of birds outside filled the spaces between breaths. He glanced in the mirror occasionally, watching Lena stare out the window as if afraid to blink and lose the moment. Her eyes followed the world beyond the glass. Trees, children walking to school, couples holding hands, as if it was all something she no longer belonged to. When they reached Ryan's small 2-bedroom house on the outskirts of Maple Creek, he helped her out and wheeled her toward the porch. The morning sun lit the white curtains fluttering in the living room window. Inside, the home smelled faintly of cinnamon and coffee. Sophie offered her a warm smile and a blanket, while Ryan made a pot of tea. At first, Lena barely spoke. She thanked them politely, her voice small and broken, but she kept her distance, emotionally and physically. Ryan didn't push. He simply made sure she ate, had a place to rest, and could feel safe for the first time in what must have been months. Over the next few days, pieces of her story began to unfold. Her mother had passed away the year before from cancer. Her father, overwhelmed and burdened, had turned to alcohol, and one night, in a storm of rage, he told her to leave. The accident that paralyzed her happened just weeks later when she tried to cross a road at night, chasing after the bus that could have taken her somewhere safer. No one came for her at the hospital. When she was discharged, she ended up at that bus stop, believing maybe, just maybe, her father would come to get her one day. but he never did. Ryan listened silently, his heart breaking a little more with every word. He had known pain, but hers was the kind that left scars too deep to see. He couldn't stop thinking how someone so young had already lost everything. That night, as he watched Lena asleep on the couch under a soft blanket, he whispered to himself, "No one deserves this." Days turned into weeks. Lena slowly began to open up. Sophie would read to her every afternoon, and her laughter, something Ryan hadn't heard in a long time, began to fill the house again. Lena started drawing again, sketching small moments she saw around her, the sunlight on the window, Sophie playing with her dolls, Ryan fixing breakfast. There was a quiet joy returning to her, fragile but real. One morning, while Ryan was at work, Lena tried to move from her wheelchair to the kitchen counter by herself. She fell hard, her body shaking as she tried to lift herself. Sophie ran to her, terrified, but Lena just smiled weakly through the pain. "I have to learn," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I can't just sit and let life pass by anymore." When Ryan came home that evening and heard what happened, he didn't scold her. Instead, he built small handrails along the hallway walls and started teaching her simple physical therapy exercises he had found online. "Every step counts," he told her, "even if it's not with your feet." The days became brighter, the house warmer. Ryan realized how much Lena had changed his life too. She reminded him of the importance of hope, of never turning away from those in need. Sophie too had grown more caring, always eager to help Lena with her drawings or join her in small chores. It felt like they had become a family, an unexpected one, but a real one. Then, one afternoon, everything changed again. Lena received a letter in the mail. The handwriting was familiar, the shaky scrawl of her father. Ryan watched her hands tremble as she opened it. Inside was a single page. "Lena, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I'm sick now, and I can't stop thinking about the day I told you to leave. If you can find it in your heart to see me one last time, please come. I'm at St. Mary's care home." Tears blurred her vision. She had dreamed of hearing those words for so long, but now that they were real, she didn't know what to do. Ryan placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You should go," he said softly. "No matter what happens, forgiveness will set you free." The next morning, Ryan drove her to St. Mary's. The sunlight streamed through the windshield, warm and golden, but Lena's hands were cold. When they arrived, her father lay in a small white room, his body frail, his eyes filled with regret. When he saw her, he broke down completely. "I'm so sorry, baby," he whispered. "I've been waiting for you every day." Lena wheeled closer, her eyes full of tears. "I forgive you, Dad," she said. "I forgave you a long time ago." They held each other, broken but whole again. Ryan and Sophie stood quietly by the door, tears glistening in their eyes. In that moment, something sacred filled the room. Redemption, peace, and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. After that day, Lena's recovery accelerated. With the help of therapy and unshakable determination, she slowly regained movement in her legs. The first time she stood, even for just a few seconds, Ryan and Sophie cheered like she had conquered the world. A year later, Lena enrolled in art school with a scholarship for students overcoming disability. Ryan drove her there on her first day, watching as she waved from the wheelchair ramp, sunlight catching her smile. "Thank you for finding me," she said softly. "That day at the bus stop, you didn't just give me a home, you gave me my life back." Ryan felt his eyes sting with emotion. "No, Lena, you gave us ours." As she rolled toward the entrance, the sound of laughter and life filled the air, a sound that once seemed impossible for her. Ryan stood watching until she disappeared inside, proud, grateful, and in awe of what simple kindness had created. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every view helps us spread stories that remind the world how compassion can change lives. And before you go, tell us in the comments below, what would you have done if you found someone like Lena at the bus stop? Your words might inspire someone else to choose kindness today, because sometimes all it takes is one simple sentence. "Come with me," to change a life forever.